So not too long ago, Volume 31 for Black Clover released in Japan. It hasn't released here yet, but we ended up finding out that Tabata left a note at the end of the volume. Occasionally he does leave a note at the end, giving the readers some nice information regarding his own personal life. And here he gives out a very interesting topic that I felt that I wanted to talk about, which is about crying. And this isn't scripted or anything. This is like I felt the strong need to want to make this video because, like I said, it's kind of personal to me, and I kind of understand where Tabata's coming from, and I feel like a lot of people should as well. So basically, he leaves a note, and like I said, this isn't released outside of Japan. This was translated, I believe, by Night Baron. I believe she translated it. But anyways, it goes as follows. Afterward, the answer to the question, quote, if Tabata ever cries, is yes, and breaking into a flood of tears, a grown man. Naturally, my daughter has no bad intentions, and she's chittering and is playful, but I really am crying for real. I was crying so hard that my wife, just rushing in after taking a bath, was shocked. I'd like to blame it on the stress due to being overwhelmed by deadlines for a weekly serialization, but I used to cry a lot, even when I was not working on a weekly series. Now, I love Tokyo, but having moved here, I would be so homesick that I would used to cry in the shower every night for a few months. Not just crying, but weeping. After meeting my wife, I cried every time I failed at some milestone. I shouldn't trouble her or let her down. Crying, despite having my own child, need to stop. If you're reading this and you're a crybaby, don't worry. I'm still crying as an adult, and no matter how miserable I cry, there's always a very strong person looking after me. Huge thanks to my wife. And, thankfully, a lot of BC fans were, very sympathetic and relating to Tabata. Crying is, a very natural thing for people. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. And I understand where Tabata's coming from, because I followed him for a very long time. Following him since Hungry Joker up to now. He would always talk about his own family and his own personal life, which is a lot of interesting details. Like, for example, Tabata, he once talked about how he didn't really grow up with a father. I believe his father passed away when he was really young, and he doesn't even really remember it. But, growing up with a father is, quite a toll to take. He had to grow up with his mom, and he's an only child. So, I imagine that must have brought a lot of difficulties with his own personal life. And then, recently, when, I believe around the time of the Elf arc, his daughter was born. So, he wasn't really getting much sleep. He was really stressed out. And there were even some chapters of BC that had some unfinished artwork in it. Like, he was taking in a lot around that time. And then shortly after his daughter was born, he talked about how he had a great relationship with his father-in-law. Because like he said, he didn't grow up with a father, so he had a really good relationship with him. But unfortunately, he had passed away. So that took quite a toll on him as well. And, it's very understandable to see where he's coming from when it comes to him, crying. And it's not just that, being a mangaka is not a very easy thing, as you guys know. In Japan, it's a very stressful thing to go through. You have deadlines, you have to, manage a lot of time and effort. Sometimes you can't even see your own family. I know Tabata's talked about having to come home really late sometimes, and he's always really busy. But nowadays he manages to make some time for his family, and especially his daughter, who he loves very, very much. Like, he wasn't able to grow up with a father, but he wants to make sure that he's always there for his daughter, and he always talks about her, and it's always the most wholesome thing ever. But like I was trying to say earlier, though, like, is it's a very important thing for someone to have to cry. Me, for example, I kind of understand where Tabata is coming from when he calls himself a crybaby. Because when I was younger, I was a heavy crybaby, and even now I cry a lot, and I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of. I mean, I'm not saying like I'm dealing with some like heavy issues or anything. I'm just easily prone to crying. Like I'll watch like a sad anime, it'll be like the smallest moment, but I'll always cry to it. I cry when I go to the movies through like any tiny sad moment. I've had my own share of moments where I've cried to myself, and that's like I've said a bunch of times. It's okay. There's never any issues when it comes to crying, and it's actually kind of sad to see that there were trolls on Twitter. I mean, there's always trolls on Twitter, like they have nothing better to do. Kind of mocking Tabata about this, and it's like kind of weird because a lot of these people are grown adults. But I guess my point is don't be ashamed to have to cry or feel any form of emotions. This applies to everyone regardless of who you are, nationality, gender, race. All of that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're all people, and it's completely natural to want to feel sad, want to cry, wanting to hang on to someone's shoulder, be it your mother, father, wife, child, friend, anybody, even a stranger online that you haven't met before, but you talk on Twitter or like some other form of social media. It's important. Like I have people I always count on when I feel sad. So and for Tabata, that's his wife, who he loves very much. Like Tabata, for all of these years, I don't think he's talked about anybody more than his wife. He's talked about his wife more than he has talked about himself. He truly loves her, and that is very inspiring and very wholesome. I hope to one day have like a very caring wife and family like he does. But I guess it's kind of weird, it's like, oh wow, I can't believe Michael's making a weird video about like Tabata crying, isn't it? It's so weird. And you know what? Maybe it is kind of strange that I'm talking about it, and it's I can't really deny that. But I felt a connection here because like I'm a very emotional guy. I'll cry over anything really. Like even sometimes when I'm really happy, I'll cry. Sometimes when I'm laughing, not even sometimes. My friends will tell you all the time. Like when I'm laughing, even if it's like something minor, I'll cry. It's the weirdest thing. I'm a very weird guy. But I think back to Tabata. I think it's really inspiring and really good that he talked about this, because not many people will admit that they cry because they like to put on like some sort of a facade that I'm a tough guy, or I'm managing very well all the time. I don't deal with any issues, and maybe for some people that's true, but a lot of the time people like to hide that fact, and I'm just here to say that it's okay to let people know. I've known people that that try to hide their own emotions and try to bury that deep, and that's never a good thing. You can always try to find someone to rely on, and I'm like I said, I'm sounding like a parrot, but it's really good that Tabata managed to say this. And you guys know me, I love Black Clover and I love Tabata, and I respect this man so much, and I've only continued to respect this man even more every time he writes little notes like these. So I understand that Tabata's going through a lot. It's really stressful, and I'm always wishing him the best, and I'm going to continue to show my support to him and Black Clover, whether it's the manga, which he personally works on every single week. He works hard on it, and when it comes to the anime, which he has shown his own efforts in, and he's worked with the anime staff before towards the end of season 3 and 4, and I believe he might be involved in the movie. But yeah, I'll support him, and I'll support anything Black Clover. Tabata, you know, obviously he would never watch this video or anything, but I just want to say that, you know, I respect you very much. You definitely have my back. I know the fandom has your back. Please continue to do well, and if you gotta cry, let your emotions out. You have a wonderful wife and a beautiful daughter, and, you know, I hope you continue to have the strength to pull through every week. I know being a mangaka isn't easy. I understand that there's a lot of stress when it comes to it, to working on it and having to, you know, just really try to bring out the best series that you can. So continue to work hard and continue to write these notes because I love reading them, and I look forward to seeing the official translation for this and buying the actual volume when it's out. So that's all I wanted to say. Take care, everyone, and remember, there's no problem whatsoever when it comes to crying. If you need to let your emotions out, do that. And that's something really important to remember.